Most people don't realize this, but the loudest thing blocking your destiny right now isn't failure, fear, or even lack of opportunity. It's the constant noise you keep creating around who you think you are supposed to be. In the next few seconds, your mind will try to rush ahead, to judge, to compare, or to wonder how this applies to someone else. And that instinct alone is proof that silence is the very thing you have been avoiding your entire life. Because silence isn't emptiness, silence is pressure. And most people cannot sit with pressure without trying to explain themselves, prove themselves, or announce themselves too early. You live in a world that rewards noise, reacts to volume, and mistakes constant motion for progress. But the truth is that nothing powerful is built loudly at the beginning. The strongest foundations are poured quietly, underground, where nobody is watching, applauding, or validating the work being done. You don't hear a seed argue with the soil. You don't hear it announce its potential, and you don't hear it complain about how long growth is taking. The seed stays silent because it understands something most humans forget, which is that growth does not respond to pressure. It responds to patience. Right now, you are speaking too much about plans that are not ready, dreams that are fragile, and visions that require protection more than exposure. Every time you explain yourself prematurely, you dilute the power of what you are becoming. Every time you seek approval before alignment, you invite doubt into something that needed solitude to survive. Silence is not weakness. Silence is discipline, and discipline is the language of people who understand timing. There is a reason the most dangerous people in the room are rarely the loudest ones. They are observing, calculating, absorbing, and refining, while everyone else is busy performing. When you stay silent, you are not doing nothing. You are doing the hardest work there is, which is mastering yourself without applause. Most people talk because they are uncomfortable with uncertainty. But uncertainty is where greatness incubates. You were never meant to broadcast your process. You were meant to live it. And the truth that shakes people is that the more you announce your next move, the more resistance you invite before you are ready to handle it. Silence protects momentum. Silence sharpens focus. Silence removes the need to defend a version of yourself that is still under construction. You don't owe the world an explanation for your growth phase. You owe yourself the space to become without interruption. Look closely at your life, and you will notice that the moments when you grew the most were not the moments when you were talking about it. They were the moments when you were alone, uncomfortable, doubting, struggling, and still showing up quietly. Those moments didn't feel powerful at the time, but they were shaping you into someone who no longer needed validation. And once you no longer need validation, you become unstoppable. Silence forces you to listen, and listening is where wisdom enters. When you stop speaking, you begin hearing patterns, noticing opportunities, and understanding people without them saying much at all. Silence teaches you emotional control because it removes your impulse to react immediately. Reaction is cheap, but restraint is priceless. Anyone can respond emotionally, but very few people can pause, breathe, and choose their next move with intention. That pause is where power lives. The world tries to convince you that visibility equals value, but history tells a different story. Value is created in private and revealed in public only when it is undeniable. You don't need to convince people when your results speak fluently on your behalf. And results are born from consistency, not conversation. When you stay silent, you redirect energy from explanation into execution. You stop leaking potential through words and start compressing it into action. Most people sabotage themselves by speaking too soon. not because their dream is wrong, but because it is unfinished. An unfinished idea needs protection, not exposure. Silence becomes your shield. It keeps your vision intact while your skills catch up to your ambition. There is a season where talking feels productive, but it is actually just avoidance disguised as confidence. Silence removes that illusion and forces you to face the work. And the work is lonely. The work is repetitive. The work does not reward you immediately, but the work changes you permanently. When you stay silent, you develop internal validation, which is the most dangerous form of confidence. You stop needing permission. You stop asking for approval. You stop negotiating with fear. Instead, you move with quiet certainty, because you know what you are building, even if no one else does. Silence teaches you patience, and patience teaches you timing. And timing separates people who almost made it from people who changed their lives forever. Most failures are not caused by lack of talent. They are caused by poor timing, fueled by impatience. People rush visibility before mastery. They rush recognition before readiness. They rush outcomes before discipline has been formed. Silence slows you down just enough to prevent that mistake. It forces you to grow roots before branches. And once your roots are deep enough, nothing above ground can shake you. This is why staying silent feels uncomfortable, because it delays gratification. But delayed gratification is the signature of people who win long term. You are not falling behind because you are quiet. You are gathering strength. You are aligning your identity with your future instead of your past. And what comes naturally after silence is not luck, but clarity. Clarity about who you are. Clarity about what matters. Clarity about what no longer deserves your energy. And when clarity arrives, movement becomes effortless. You stop forcing outcomes and start attracting alignment. You stop chasing attention and start commanding respect. Not because you demanded it, but because your presence earned it. Silence is not absence, it is preparation. And preparation always reveals itself at the right moment. And once you begin to understand that silence is not the absence of ambition, but the discipline of focus, you realize that the loudest people in the room are often compensating for uncertainty, while the quiet ones are conserving energy, sharpening skill, and preparing for moments that do not announce themselves in advance. Because the world is addicted to immediate validation, it trains you to confuse noise with progress. But true momentum is usually invisible at first, building quietly beneath the surface like roots spreading underground, long before anything strong is allowed to rise into the light. When you stay silent, you stop leaking your future to people who are not invested in it, and you protect your vision from opinions that are too small to understand what you are becoming, and too fearful to support a path they never had the courage to walk themselves. There is a dangerous habit in explaining your dreams before they are ready, because premature exposure invites doubt, comparison, and distraction, all of which weaken the fragile early stages of growth that require patience, privacy, and relentless inner belief. Silence gives you room to listen, not just to the world around you, but to the quiet internal voice that gets drowned out when you are constantly performing, defending, or proving something to people who will never live with the consequences of your choices. The strongest seasons of growth are often the loneliest, because transformation requires separation from old identities, old conversations, and old patterns. And silence becomes the bridge that carries you from who you were to who you are becoming. You begin to notice that when you stop talking about what you plan to do, you start doing more of it, because action does not need applause, and progress does not require permission to exist. Every moment you spend explaining yourself is a moment stolen from execution. And the disciplined individual understands that results speak louder than intentions ever could. Silence also teaches emotional control, because when you are no longer reacting to every comment, criticism, or challenge, you regain power over your responses and stop allowing external noise to dictate your internal state. The person who masters silence learns that restraint is not weakness, but authority. Because not everything deserves your reaction, and not everyone deserves access to your thoughts. As you grow quieter, you also grow sharper, because observation replaces impulse and awareness replaces ego, allowing you to see patterns, opportunities, and threats that emotional reactivity would have hidden from you before. There is a maturity that arrives when you no longer feel the need to announce your moves, because confidence becomes internal rather than performative, and self-worth no longer depends on acknowledgement from an audience. In silence, you begin to separate ego-driven urgency from purpose-driven patience, understanding that rushing is often fear disguised as ambition, while calm consistency is the signature of someone who trusts the process completely. The discipline of silence rewires how you approach adversity, because instead of complaining or seeking sympathy, you start asking better questions, adjusting your strategy, and continuing forward without needing anyone to validate your struggle. When challenges arise, silence allows you to respond with preparation rather than panic, because you are no longer emotionally exposed to every setback, and instead grounded in a deeper commitment to long-term growth. This is why so many powerful individuals move quietly, because they know that attention attracts resistance, jealousy, and interference, while privacy creates space for mastery to develop uninterrupted. Silence is where habits are built, where skills are sharpened, and where character is forged, because it removes the distractions that make discipline feel optional rather than necessary. The more you embrace silence, the more you realize that consistency does not need motivation, because routine replaces hype and structure replaces emotion as the engine that drives progress forward. You stop waiting for the perfect moment to speak or be seen, because you understand that preparation is happening now, and when the time comes, the impact will be undeniable without a single word of explanation. Silence also humbles you, because without constant feedback, you are forced to confront your weaknesses honestly, correct them privately, and grow without the illusion that attention equals achievement. In this quiet process, your standards rise, your tolerance for distraction lowers, and your commitment deepens, because you begin to respect your own time, energy, and potential on a level that makes compromise uncomfortable. Eventually, silence becomes your advantage, because while others are busy broadcasting intentions, you are building results, and when those results finally appear, they arrive with a force that no amount of talking could ever replicate. And this is where the silence becomes more than a tactic, because it becomes an identity, a way of moving through the world without constantly seeking validation, approval, or permission. And when you reach this stage, you no longer feel the urge to explain your dreams to people who cannot see them, because you finally understand that vision matures best in quiet environments. You begin to realize that most people fail, not because they lack talent or opportunity, but because they leak their energy through unnecessary conversations, emotional reactions, and constant announcements of plans that were never ready to be shared in the first place. Silence sharpens your intuition, because when the noise fades, your inner voice grows louder, clearer, and more trustworthy, guiding you with a precision that no outside opinion ever could. You start to notice that the most dangerous distractions are not obvious ones like laziness or fear, but subtle ones like the need to be seen, the desire to be praised, and the craving to be understood by everyone, because those needs quietly pull you away from your purpose. In silence, discipline becomes easier because you are no longer performing for an audience. And when no one is watching, you either become honest with yourself or you collapse. And that honesty is where real growth begins. You stop rushing outcomes because silence teaches patience, and patience teaches timing. And timing is the invisible force behind every great success that looks sudden from the outside, but took years of unseen preparation. This is when your work starts to carry weight, because it is no longer rushed, desperate, or reactive, but grounded, intentional, and shaped by focus rather than fear. You realize that confidence does not come from loud declarations of self-belief, but from quiet consistency, from showing up day after day, even when no one notices, and honoring commitments that only you know about. Silence removes the pressure to impress, and in that space, your true standards emerge, because you are no longer measuring yourself against applause, but against your own potential. You begin to understand that not everyone deserves access to your thoughts, your struggles, or your next move, and protecting your inner world becomes a form of self-respect rather than isolation. The more you stay silent, the more you observe, and observation becomes your greatest teacher, because you start to see patterns in people, in opportunities, and in yourself that were always there but drowned out by noise. You notice who talks endlessly about plans but never moves, and who moves quietly while the world assumes nothing is happening, and that contrast changes how you choose to live. You stop reacting emotionally to every opinion, because silence creates distance, and distance creates clarity, allowing you to respond from wisdom instead of impulse. This is where strength is built, not the kind that flexes in public, but the kind that holds steady under pressure, disappointment, and uncertainty without collapsing into complaint. Silence trains you to sit with discomfort, because when there is no distraction, no validation, and no escape, you are forced to confront your weaknesses honestly, and confrontation is the beginning of transformation. You begin to trust the process, not because it is easy, but because silence has shown you that growth often feels invisible before it becomes undeniable. And then something shifts, because opportunities start to align in ways you did not force. Connections appear without chasing, and doors open not because you knocked loudly, but because you were ready when the moment arrived. People begin to notice your presence without you announcing it, because quiet mastery carries an energy that cannot be faked, and it commands respect without demanding attention. You realize that staying silent was never about disappearing, but about becoming so solid within yourself that you no longer needed external confirmation to feel real or worthy. This is when everything starts to come naturally, not magically, but logically, because the internal chaos that once blocked your progress has finally been replaced with clarity, discipline, and purpose. You understand that success is not attracted to noise, but to alignment, and silence is what allowed you to align your actions, values, and vision into one powerful direction. At this point, you no longer fear being misunderstood, because you know that those who are meant to understand you will recognize you through your work, your character, and your consistency. You stop chasing moments and start building foundations, because silence has taught you that what lasts is rarely loud in its construction. Your confidence becomes unshakable, because it is no longer borrowed from opinions, but earned through effort, patience, and self-trust. And when you finally speak, your words carry weight, because they are backed by experience, not intention, and people listen differently when someone who stayed quiet starts to move. You realize that the silence you once feared was actually protecting you, strengthening you, and preparing you for a version of yourself that could handle what you were asking for. This is the truth most people never learn, that staying silent is not weakness, but restraint, and restraint is the highest form of power. Because when you master silence, you master yourself. And when you master yourself, everything you have been chasing stops running, turns around and meets you where you stand. Thanks for watching. If you found this video helpful or eye-opening, make sure to hit the like button. It really helps the channel grow. And don't forget to subscribe for more practical psychology insights, self-awareness tools, and mind-sharpening advice. Take care, and I'll see you in the next video.